Okay, so I have already created two new files. The first one is surveyform.html and the other one is a CSS. So, of course, we have to start with the boilerplate HTML and then enter. Then here you go. Then let's change the title to survey form. Survey form. And then, all right, and then of course, we have to connect the CSS or the style sheet for this form. So that's going to be link and then enter, and then the href, the value should be survey form.css. Okay, that's lacking v survey form.css. All right. Okay, so according to our guide here in freeCodeCamp, user story number 1 says I can see a title with an ID of title in H1 sized text. So inside the body, we're going to create a title. So H1, and it says that it should have an ID of title. And then okay, so this is my form since I graduated as an engineering student. So this is going to be just a super random survey form. I'm just curious if all the engineering graduates really have chose their course or whatever. So my survey form is going to be about asking engineering students or engineering graduates if they're satisfied with the course that they actually graduated. So my title would be College of Engineering degree satisfaction survey. All right. So user story number 1 is done. User story number 2 says I can see a short explanation with ID of description in paragraph size text. So next, after this line, I'm going to put a paragraph element, and it should have an ID of description. And okay, so this is a simple survey asking engineering. I'm sorry if my paragraph is a bit too long. So by the way, just a little background. So I graduated, as I've mentioned, I graduated with an engineering degree. And looking back, actually, my college days were the best days when I went to school. So I really enjoyed, although it wasn't like a walk in the park. And but I actually failed 3 subjects in total during my college days. But it was the best because I created a lot of um, memories, and I really really enjoyed my college days. So I just wonder if my classmates or other engineering graduates actually feel the same, or because looking back, if given a chance, I would still choose that course. And yeah, although I no longer practice my degree since I'm doing freelancing full time, I have no regrets at all. And yeah, so I'm just curious if what other engineering graduates actually uh, feel about that. Okay, okay, so let's save that one, and let's check our work if everything's fine and everything is connected. By the way, I'm using VS Code here. I think it's one of the best code editor, and it's very convenient as well. Oh, okay, I'm not. Okay, open. Let's see. Okay, so we are connected. The CSS file is connected to the HTML. I kind of like. I wanted this paragraph, this description to be in italicized. So let's add an I. Oops. All right. So let's check. Reload. Okay, it's italicized. So user story number 2 is done. So let's move forward to user story number 3, which says I can see a form element with ID of survey form. So after the paragraph, I am going to put the form element, form, and then enter. So I'm not gonna put any action or any value in the action property. So by the way, this is my practice whenever I do something or I code something using HTML, CSS. I always check the Mozilla developer um, file, or yeah, Mozilla developer tool rather. So let's open this up. I cannot memorize the attributes, I mean the properties in each element, like for example form. So I always check any developer tools like Mozilla, and yeah, look for things here. I think it's most of the software developers advises advises to do things like this. I mean, you can't really memorize everything. I don't think you have to memorize. They always say that. So um, yeah, I always check developer tools like this. So since we are using form, so here are the properties for the form element. So you have action, method, and then yeah, the class, or we could also use ID. So in my case, I'm gonna follow this one. I'm not gonna put any value inside the action property. So with the method, I am going to um, put something in there. So I'm gonna copy what's on Mozilla Developer Tool, which is the value is get. And since freeCodeCamp says that we should have an ID of survey form under this element, so let's of course follow that one, survey form, and then yeah. So user story number 3 is done. Let's save that. Don't forget. Okay, let's just check if it's there. Of course, we're not seeing anything because it's empty. So we're just okay. So for user story number 4, inside the form element, I am required to enter my name in a field with an ID of name. So, okay, first is name. I always practice as much as possible, although I'm not the most organized person. I wanted to organize my code, so I always put a comment so that it's easier for me whenever we go to CSS and styling and all. It's easier for us to locate on what class or what ID or in what part should we be styling. So I always organize them, yeah, as much as possible. So for this one, I we're going. I would like to put this in a container, in a div container, with a class of, let's just say, form example, or any class you could, you could choose any name. All right. And then okay, so let's start. Okay, so again, let's check using the Mozilla developer tools. Let's check for the name for this. Okay, so inside our div element, we should, since it says in here, let's go back. Inside the form element, we are required to enter a name field. So a name field with an ID of name. So this should be an input. This one should have a label and an input field, right? So let's look for to let's refer to our developer tools and type or key a label here. Okay, it's here. So it's exactly like this, right? It should be like this. So it should have a label of name, and then a box where someone could put their name or type their name in. So let's follow this one. So label, enter. This is for name, and then it says that we should have an ID of, let's see, name. Yeah, for ID of name. I'm gonna put the value name for the ID in the input element. So in this for this element, for the label element, I'm gonna put an ID of name label. You're gonna know why, because later I'm gonna show you later, by the way. So let's just go along, and then it should says enter your name, and then next is the input element. So for this one, the type should be text, right? And then the name property or attribute, still name, and then here it should be name. Same as what freeCodeCamp's instruction is. You should have an ID of name. So there, and then let's put some placeholder, something like, I don't know, Jane Doe, and then should be required. Okay, let's check, save, and then reload if it's there. Okay, perfect. So it's there. We have a placeholder, the label, and then the input field. Alright, so user story number 4 is done. Let's go to user story number 5. Inside the form element, I am required to enter an email in a field with an ID of email. So this is something similar to what we have just created in this div container. So again, I want to label my code so that it's easier for us to understand. Again, I want to put this inside another div element. And of course, the class should be the same with the previous div container. Form example. Again, label element. The name for this one should be email. with an ID of, since we use name label for the name, let's use email label. And then enter your email. Okay, and then input element. This should have, so okay, so this one should have a type of email. And the name is email. An ID, according to user story number 5, it should have an ID of email. Okay, and then some placeholder. Let's just use username at domain. All right, and then required. So what this does, the required attribute, so it's the user, or the user should put something. I mean, they can't move forward to another, how do you call it, to another property or another element, unless they fill in this, the email field as well as the name field. So let's save, reload, check. Okay, it's there. Email. Okay, perfect. So let's move to user story number 6. It says, if I enter an email that is not formatted correctly, I will see an HTML5 validation error. This is what I've been talking about just a while ago. So what the required attribute does actually is, you're not the user is not allowed to move to another property, or another field rather, unless the user enters the email, um, enters his or her email. And same goes with the name field. So since we put required in here, so seems like user number 6 is taken care of. User story number 7, inside the form I can enter a number in a field with an ID number. Okay, so another div element. So this is for number. Again, let's use the same class, same with the previous div containers. Form example. Okay, let's check Mozilla developer for label number. Let's check what are the properties that we need to include inside. No, actually, let's use input. Let's key an input form, input number input. Since this is about number, so let's look for the, there you go. Perfect. Okay, so let's copy this one. So we should have a label of, okay, label for age, ID, since the previous ones has an email name label and email label, so let's use number label for this one. How old are you? Right? And then the input field, the type should be a number, and the name, age, ID, number, which was instructed or stated in responsive web design instruction here in user number 7. So number, let's put some placeholder. Enter your age. And then just like here, it has a min-max property. So minimum of 21. I graduated at the age of 22, by the way, so was kind of late. Okay, min-max. Let's just say 65. And then let's not forget the required property. Alright, so I guess that's it. Let's wait. Oops. Okay, save and then reload. Okay, it's there. Although we're gonna fix this later. Um, yeah, it should. I mean, the whole text placeholder enter your age should be seen here, but later we're gonna fix that in CSS. So let's go to user number 8. If I enter na numbers in the number input, okay, so this is the same with user number 6. This is taken care of. This is we have already done this one since we put the required property. So what is, again, whenever the user skip or will enter a non-number type, then an HTML prompt. I mean, yeah, the browser will prompt that the user should only put number within the min-max value. So user number 9, if I enter numbers outside the range of the number, this is what I am discussing. So we have already done that one. We incorporated the min-max properties. So let's go to user number 10. It says for the name, email, and number input fields inside the form, I can see corresponding labels that describe the purpose of each field with the following IDs. This is we have actually done this already. So remember that in the label elements, we assigned a value, I mean an ID with a value of name label for the name, and then email label for the email, and number label for the number. So that's already taken care of. Let's move forward to user story number 11. For the name, email, and number input fields, I can see placeholder text that gives me description instructions for each field. So we have done that again. So we have put placeholders respectively. So we've done user story number 11 is done. So let's move forward to user story number 12. It says inside the form element, I can select an option from a drop-down that has corresponding ID of drop-down. So let's first look or check using Mozilla Developer Tools on what are the properties inside this element. Okay, so let's try drop-down. Drop-down, or since it is a drop-down, then let's try select. It should be here. Select. Okay, perfect. So it's here. So let's just let this be our guide. So we have a label. So and then select element. So instead of input element, we are going to use the select element since this is a drop down field. Okay, so again, let's create another div container. But first, let's put some description or comment rather. Drop down, select. Div, again, with the same class with the previous div containers. Form example. Again, label element. So let's see choose let's use course select as the value for the for property. So here, what engineering course did you take in college? College. Okay. Oh, yes. So again, select, okay, select. Let's use a name same with I mean let's use a value for the name property same with the same value with the for property. Course select ID. So okay. So it says here that it should have an ID of drop down. So let's use that one. ID drop down. Save.